Hello, everybody, and welcome to Haiku Talk. I'm your host, Ben Ga, your friendly neighborhood haiku poet. And today we're going to be looking at a piece from the latest issue of Hedgerow with the first line of Fence Slat. And here is the beautiful issue of Hedgerow. With that said, you know what time it is. It's time to sit back, relax, grab yourself a tasty beverage, and let's haiku. Welcome back, everybody. It's good to be with you again for another episode of Haiku Talk. And this one, we have a wonderful piece from, the latest issue of Hedgerow, which is a beautiful square book. Don't have too many square books in the old library, but if you subscribe to this journal, you'll soon have a collection, worthy collection. This piece comes from us from Michael J. Galko. And the piece goes like this. Missing fence slat, where the robins hop through. Missing fence slat, where the robins hop through. Wonderful piece. Not just because I'm working on my own fence slat poem did this catch my eye, but because it's just a really, really nice piece. A very good haiku observational moment. And it makes me think of a little bit of Wabi-Sabi, which is a great book here. Wabi-Sabi for Artists, Designers, Poets, and Philosophers by Leonard Cohen. If you have an interest in Wabi-Sabi, this is a great book to check it out. And I'll just read just a brief bit about Wabi-Sabi from the back cover, which ties into this poem. Wabi-Sabi is the quintessential Japanese aesthetic. It is a beauty of things imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete. Again, this poem, Missing Fence Slat, where the robins hop through. Now you can see, we find beauty in something incomplete in this poem. And that's primarily one of the focuses that I have for this piece, and what drew me to it is that for a lot of people, if you see a missing fence slat, their mind is going to go to, oh, we got to repair this. You know, you think about what caused it to fall, what caused the fence slat to be missing, and then when are you going to go to Home Depot to pick up a repair, or when are you going to call your handyman to get this fixed? What are you going to do? How long is it going to take? What's it going to cost? Blah, 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 blah. And that is a natural thing to fix something that's broken. But in this case, Michael has done something different. He has found some beauty in this missing fence slat, and beauty through observation, and beauty through observation that leads to a haiku moment. Again, missing fence slat, where the robins hop through. Now, poets, haiku poets, take time. They have permission to take time to stop and notice and look around and see the small things that happen every day. Things that you might walk past, things that, in this case, you might overlook anything beautiful at all about a missing fence slat. But in this case, because the poet is finely attuned and has taken the moment and taken the time to sit back and really observe this missing fence slat in its setting. And the observation is that robins are hopping through this fence slat to get from yard to yard, side yard to front yard to backyard, neighbor's yard to your yard, or whatever yard it is. But it's the fact that robins are hopping through, that birds are hopping through, they're traveling through the fence by a hop. And it's not just that there are birds doing this, but it's the specificity of robins in particular. So it's the fact that somebody took the time to observe this scene and to pay attention long enough to notice that not only are there birds hopping through this where the missing fence slat is, but to notice what type of birds are hopping through this fence slat. And it's just kind of funny and kind of amusing that it's just a specific type of bird that's hopping through, these robins. And then that leads your mind to wonder and think and puzzle about robins and what they're doing, why they're choosing to hop through this fence slat in the backyard. And then your mind starts to go, or my mind starts to go to world building. It starts to fill in all the space around this poem with what the yard looks like, where this yard takes place, what's around this fence slat. Immediately, I'm taken to my old backyard in the house I lived before the place I'm in right now, which had a fence next to a Japanese maple, and every year there's always this fat robin that would come and particularly take up residence in that tree. And I know that because I took the time long enough to notice this year after year after year and to kind of recognize the same robin that comes back. And so I'm taken directly to this spot in my own backyard, an old backyard, to a specific bird, and can see in my head very clearly, I could imagine this bird hopping through a fence slat if it was missing between my yard and my neighbor's yard. And that's a beautiful memory that a beautiful spot to be taken to in my own life. Michael never would have known any of this, but the fact that he had taken the time to write such a poem in such a way, giving me all of this white space around the haiku, which is what haiku do, allows me as the reader to come in and see this moment as my own. And to delight not only in the fact that this moment has held attention of the poet, to take the time to notice the fence slat, to notice something beautiful happening here, and not maybe be in a rush to repair this fence slat, seeing that it's now a passageway for robins. And I think there's a real lesson there that we can all learn and take into our own lives. It's just because you see something that's broken, like this fence slat, or missing, take a moment before you rush to fix something to see if there's any beauty there, to see if there's anything worth noticing that you wouldn't have noticed had the fence slat or that thing that's broken be in place. And I'm not saying don't repair things or don't fix things, but just be mindful of the space that's now there where before the thing was broken. And who knows? You might find some beauty in it, like this. Now, let's take a look at how this works. This poem is constructed with our favorite fragment and phrase format, with the first line of missing fence slat being the fragment, and the phrase being where the robins hop through. And if you look at this line by line, that first line of missing fence slat with a nice M dash at the end, very specific, very visual, very much takes you outside into some sort of yarded space or some sort of space. And I would say a yard because it's a fence slat. It's not like a metal fence or a chain link fence or a barbed wire fence. It's a kind of fence slat that, to me, speaks of a domestic setting, a fence slat between, in a backyard or in a neighborhood. That's just me. And so I automatically, the first thing that I think about when I think of missing fence slat is to think, oh man, something broke. The storm knocked this out. It's an old fence. The fence slat finally fell off. I think of all of these sort of negative things of being, of the ownership of having to fix something, and the fact that something looks bad because it's broken, and it's like as a homeowner, you get that mind of, it's another chore I've got to do, got to fix this thing. And so it's kind of builds a negative connotation in my mind with that first line, which is an interesting way to start a poem, because normally we don't think of these poems as having negative qualities to them. However, you certainly can. But it has this negative connotation, a little stress in my shoulders as well, thinking about fixing a fence. And then you go to line 2, which is where the robins. Now that's an incomplete phrase, so I know that more's coming after that. But suddenly I'm moving from the weight and tension of having a fence that's broken that needs to be fixed to thinking about birds. And suddenly I'm starting to shift a little bit. My shoulders are starting to soften a little bit because I'm now taking away from a task at hand to noticing birds. And as you know from this channel recently, I like watching birds. And then we get to that last line, which is the aha moment, the clincher, the thing that turns the whole poem on its head and makes you go, I get it. That's awesome. That third line is hop through. Hop through. And I love the word hop as a word choice. It's short, it's specific, it's playful, and associating it with what the robins are doing in this fence lab, it just makes the moment very lively, very active, very fun, very playful, and not something at all that you should feel tension around. So that whole weight that I felt from that first line is completely disappears by getting to that third line, completely goes away. And now I'm standing here delighting in watching these robins hop through this missing fence slat. And suddenly my day is great, and this is wonderful, and this is awesome. And I can maybe not think about fixing this fence slat right away, and instead just not thinking in the future, just thinking at the moment, thinking of now, thinking of what is happening around me right now. And that's a gift. That's truly a gift. And this poem is just very nice and a good reminder of taking a moment and being present in the now, as well as finding the beauty of things that are imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete. Little Wabi-Sabi. And that, my friends, wraps up another episode of Haiku Talk. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you all are doing well. And until next time, cheers, everybody.